Hello, fellow pet lovers. How in the world are you? Welcome to day 2 of my 5-day challenge to prevent pet disaster, danger, and loss around the home. Yesterday, we looked at the various types of calamities that can befall us and our pets around the house. Refer you back to the notes and the crisis grid that we developed yesterday. But basically, we looked at the situation in the 4 basic parameters, whether we're going to be stuck at home and basically trapped temporarily in our homes, whether we're going to have to flee for our lives, and whether we had warning or little or no warning. And we talked about, particularly in the latter case, with little or no warning, that we needed immediate control, we needed immediate but temporary confinement, and then we needed a immediate transport plan to get out of Dodge, so to speak, to get the kids into the car and out of the danger area. We developed a loading plan in the sketch. Many of you have been working on that. Send in your sketches so that we can maybe share them, and I can give you some feedback. And I certainly, of course, welcome your feedback as well. So today, we're going to look at various details and parameters that can allow us to simplify that and make the process easy, and then continue on in our journey to make our pets safe around the home.
So in this segment, I'm going to call them semi-obtuse. We don't really think about it in the middle of a crisis, but fuel is 100% important. Think about that. Think about how important fuel is to your evacuation process. And I'm not just talking about petrol. Vehicles need fuel. Pets need fuel. Portable electronics that you rely on severely need fuel. And you need fuel. The vehicle is a no-brainer, but so easy to overlook. My rule all the time, whether it's summer, winter, spring, or fall, gas tank needs to be at least a half mark full. Gets below half, I want to stop. I don't care if I'm only got another 20, 40 miles to go. My brain gets anxious and I want to stop. Do I do it every time? No. Am I anxious every time? You bet I am. I thought about that episode of evacuating the house, got everybody out ready to go, an hour to get to the main street, another hour to take a 20-minute drive from the main street to my office. 2 hours from my house to the office that normally takes me about 20 minutes. If I'd have had a trickle at the bottom of my tank, I'd have been sweating bullets. But the old bus was full of fuel. So I encourage you to really think about that 24/7, 365, no matter what crisis you're going to plan on doing, a full tank is better than not. Your pets, if you're going to get out of Dodge and you got to go, maybe they don't need a lot of food. Maybe they don't need any food. Maybe you'll need 24 hours worth of food. So I think a 24-hour food supply should be on maybe not the first thing you put in the vehicle, but certainly on the B+ list in the event of a crisis that you're going to load the car in the vehicle. A little food, a little water. Water is obviously more important. Keeping a case of water in the vehicle, particularly in these hot days, makes every bit of sense to me. I like to have enough water for 24 hours for everybody. Every heartbeat should have 24 hours worth of water if you can. I grant you that if you got 10 minutes to go, you're going to have an A list, you're going to have a B list. The water is probably not on the B list unless it's already in the vehicle. But it's something to think about and something to be prepared for. But you're normally going to have more than 10 minutes. And if that tsunami is coming at you to the beach, there'll be plenty of water. That was a joke. Portable electronics. We rely on everything, and part of the emergency preparedness is to make sure these electronics are working because we're connected with the rest of the world. Just last night, I was reminded about how critical the general world is. I'm going to use some adjectives that I don't mean to be condescending, but I used to use the word millennial, but I don't really know what that means or what age group is. To me, a millennial is someone that's always using their cell phone. But young people, millennials with electronic devices, I'm not sure they're going to make it into the senior generation if their phones die. I don't see them being able to navigate. I don't see them be able to communicate, and I don't see them being able to literally function without that phone. Had a situation where no, I probably shouldn't share that. So, but that they're just dedicated to their phones, and that's not necessarily bad. It gives them all kinds of information. It gives them all kinds of communication. I grant you, I love to pick up my cell phone, put in an address, and it just tells me where to go. It's a no-brainer. But I'm old enough and old-fashioned enough, and I can use a compass and I can use a map. I could get there without a problem without the electronics. So whether you can or you can't, being able to rely on them just for navigation isn't the most important thing. Relying on them for communication in the middle of a crisis, the information that you can get on where the problem is, what the nature of the problem is, the extent of the problem, can all come from the electronic process. And you need fuel. I remember very vividly, by the time I got to the office and I was unloading the kids, I was spent and tired and exhausted and hungry. And we still had another hour plus of, I had a ton of help from the staff when I got here. But I remember another hour of just sorting things out, getting things bedded down, walking dogs. We went out, we spent a night or two in a hotel nearby here, got some food, and then I really remember how hungry I was and how tired I was and how much a little bit of, I don't know what fast food we got, really recharged us, and when we went back and walked all the dogs that evening and before we retired and the like. So food and fuel is very, very, very critical. Car, pets, you, electronics. My notes to myself, so I didn't forget anything: have a tank of fuel all times, no exceptions. Fuel for the pets, food, water bowls. Have a little water bowl maybe that's collapsible. We'll talk about that in some of the instant preparedness tips that we'll get into later on in the challenge. And then portable electronics. I like to have a charged battery pack for each cell and tablet that I normally use, because what I normally use I'm going to take with me. So right now that's the cell in my laptop. I rarely use a tablet, but in preparation for this I was thinking that the tablet could easily be, because my tablet doesn't run out of fuel very frequently, so that could easily be a backup communication device that I think I'm going to put in probably my go bag. Probably put that in my go bag. And then specifically, individually, what everybody around the house needs to use. The one thing that we're going to talk about go bags and what should be in them, but don't forget the pet's medication and your medication that should be in that. You need at least 24 hours of stuff that's going to be in that as well. So in the fuel for you, we talked about the adrenaline burns energy, and you're going to need something. So power bars, snacks that you can store without any fear of it deteriorating after a reasonable period of time, and certainly water. So the kitty doggy go bag, I alluded to that earlier. I was planning on shooting a little video. I'll add that maybe to the challenge day one. That's a good idea. I'll add it to the challenge day one as we go through it, and you'll have a little picture of what I have when I do. But mine is basically in 2 layers. The go bag is in 2 layers. One is my day fanny pack that I use to walk the dogs, and in that is extra leash, poop bags, a collapsible water bowl, and some water bottles. And in the emergency go bag is going to be another water bowl, Yes, the water, metal feeding bowl, um, and extra leashes for the dogs and the like. And that will be with a case that has a bag of dry food that can be loaded on. And that, as we go through this, and you're going to be organizing and prioritizing your list, you're going to have an A list now, and the B list is grab it, assuming that the fire department isn't dragging you out or the flames aren't licking at your front door. So the go bag had the poop bags in it, the water bowl, the collapsible, not necessarily necessary to be collapsible, but it sure takes up no space whatsoever. And the water bowl could substitute as a food bowl as well. Let me check my notes and see. Oh yeah, this is where I was going to talk about a leash for the kitty too. You can put a leash, a little slip leash on the kitty, and if you don't have the if you don't have a carrier, you don't have the pillowcase like we talked about, if you got to hold the cat on your lap, put the leash on the kitty. You would be surprised what extra third hand that would be if the kid starts squirming and you need to make sure that they don't get anywhere, because you got a little control around their head and you can control their body and you can calm them down. A blanket might help, but that extra handle will give you and the kitty confidence and security that you can hang on through any situation. So we're in the process of creating our action plan. You have made some notes. You got your diagram. I'd love for you to share your notes and definitely send me your sketch, your diagram of the of your car and your loading plan. My guess is that your first sketch won't be your last sketch as things develop and you put together your own personal checklist with the help of this program. And the final one will be much more amendable. But the final plan and your notes and your list can be used anytime, any place, any point by anyone. I think that's my biggest point, anyone. When we evacuated the house 3 years ago, I was reminded of one thing somewhat in my own reconstruction of the crime, so to speak, and what we did right and what we didn't, and how to do things better in the future. But I realized that that was on a Monday, and I was off, and I was home. And I could orchestrate things pretty well myself. What would have happened if I wouldn't have been home, and I had to orchestrate it primarily by phone and the like? Well, if the checklist would have been accessible to everyone, most of it was in my brain, unfortunately. If the loading diagram for the vehicle, there was a loading diagram for the vehicle because we did that all the time with the dogs. But if the checklist and the loading diagram is accessible and available to everyone, you don't have to be at home, and the team at the house can execute with confidence everything that you need because you're organized and you're prepared, and the problem is more than half solved. So the final step for today in conclusion is to document your hard-earned efforts. Document your hard-earned efforts and write out your treatment plan. Document your hard-earned efforts and write out your plan in black and white so that you can refer to them in a crisis and others on your team can refer to them as well. So with that, it's me, Dr. B, signing off for the 5-day challenge. I can't wait until I see you in the next episode of the 5-day challenge. Thanks for joining me here today, and thank you for caring about your pets.